Now, the LPG Marketers Association have shut down their gas stations across the country in protest of a ban on the construction of new stations. They say they are not reopening the stations until they receive a positive feedback from government concerning the suspension of construction of gas stations across the country. According to them, they had sunk more than $10 million into the construction of new stations before the ban by the MPP government in 2017, and not lifting it is killing the industry. The president of the association, Gabriel Kumi, says government is doing this because it wants to roll out its cylinder recirculation policy, describing it as a bad way of attempting to create a new industry at the expense of an existing one. He spoke to me earlier.
The main issue bothering and confronting all these associations is the $10 million that our members have sunk on the ground in the name of constructing LPG stations that a ban has been placed on. For the past 5 years, we are not able to finish these projects and recoup the investment made in them so we can repay the loans we've taken from the bank. We had been given various permits over the years, and we have started construction. And we have sunk a lot of borrowed funds into these projects. So allow us to complete those ones, so that if you issue instruction to MPA to say that, look, from today, don't issue any new permit to anybody to construct LPG station in Ghana, we go by that. But those that we have been given permit by fire permit, EPA permit, MPA, no objection permit, MPA construction permit, and all that. And we have begun construction. Please give us that leeway so that we'll be able to construct those stations so we can recoup the investment and repay our loans to the bank. And my brother, we've been fighting this for 5 good years. We don't seem to achieve any results. For a businessman in this era of COVID-19 and Russia-Ukraine war, in this difficult time, for a businessman to wake up in the morning and say, I'm locking up my business, that fits me. It tells you that something big is chasing that person. And that is where we've gotten to now. We didn't have to get here. We have written letters to the ministries, to MPA, and even to cabinet, to consider indigenous Ghanaians who have invested $10 million on the ground. Where is our support for the private sector that we always talk about? LPG is the only industry in Ghana that has 100% local content in terms of participation. The LPG downstream. It's 100%. Now in Ghana, even Kelewele selling and Bayerayachi is being taken over by Chinese. We cannot go to cabinet to spill our grievances. We can only do that through our regulator like MPA and then through the ministry. If these people are presented what they need to present and it's not being adhered to, maybe government is not understanding the magnitude of the situation. So maybe such actions, when the general public began to speak, government will listen to us.
So what do you think is causing the reluctance on the part of cabinet to listen?
Your guess, I don't know. I can't tell. I can't tell that you have your indigens. You have a local industry like the LPG downstream industry, made up of indigenous Ghanaians, 100%. The LPG industry in Ghana has been built by indigenous Ghanaians. When we started LPG in Ghana, the foreign companies like the Totals and the Shells were involved. They all chickened out because of the sensitive nature of the product, because of the difficulty in trying to market and distribute that product. It took the ordinary Ghanaian to stand tall, and we have built the industry over the past 25 years to where it is today. So as to why cabinet doesn't want to, we understand government wants to introduce a new policy, cylinder recirculation policy. That is why all these things is going on. But you don't destroy your existing industry just because you have the intention of introducing a new one. How sure are you the new one you are going to introduce will succeed or will fail? You have a bird in hand.
Now, many liquefied petroleum gas users in the Ashanti region are struggling to fill their containers at LPG filling point in Kumasi. because stations remain closed. Now, many users who appear confused say they would have to resort to using charcoal for cooking for the meantime. Others say they might be forced to buy food from the street. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku has been monitoring the situation and joins me live with more. Bright, what more can you tell us is the situation happening in Kumasi?
All right, Kojo, here in the Ashanti region, the situation is the same as in Accra. We've been out monitoring the outlets in the region. I've been to 3 stations, that is pump stations, gas pump stations, and I can report that all of the 3 have been closed to the public. Nobody is there to access the LPG. So in the Ashanti region, most of these LPG users are stranded. I spoke with this particular woman who told me that since she has no access, she moved all the way from Ashtown to somewhere Angloga Junction, which is about more than 100 meters or some more than a kilometer stretch from Ashtown to Angloga. She told me that since she does not have any of the LPG, she's going to resort to buying from the streets, buying food from the streets. Others also tell me they would be using charcoal in replace of the LPG. So in the Ashanti region, most of them are stranded. When we went there, there were queues, but nobody is there to fill their gas cylinders for them. So that's the situation in the Ashanti region.
Well, the communications manager for the National Petroleum Authority, Mohammed Abdul Kudus, has been speaking on this. Now, he says they are working to get the LPG marketers to rescind their decision in order to avoid any catastrophic impact on the citizenry. He spoke to me on News Desk.
When the signals were sent as of Friday last week, immediately over the weekend, we tried to call for a meeting to have an understanding of where we are and where we're going from the concerns that they were raising. And we scheduled to have the meeting that was yesterday at 10 a.m. My information is that the parties involved, the Tanker Drivers Association, the LPG Marketers Association, said they had the notice very short and they could not make it. I believe that anytime soon we'll probably be meeting again and be able to bring it to a closure so that we can get the industry back on course. It is something that is going to affect everybody in the country because of the critical nature of the product. And obviously, it will have to take a dialogue. It will have to come to people meeting at the round table to take a decision so that we'll be able to move forward from here. And that is why we are urging them and we want to urge them using your medium and equally urge you to add your voice to it to get to the discussion table. I think that is where people can put everything on the table, then we can move forward from that. The decision for which was that led to the suspension of the construction was actually for a good reason. It's interesting that the central team to the whole strike that started with Tanker Drivers Association is a bit fading, and now the construction is taking the lead stage. Hoping to get a closure on it yesterday if the meeting had actually come off. But unfortunately, we're not able to have it. We are working at them to get them to the table. Because if you're not able to get them to the table, solution is going to really be difficult to arrive at. So that's why we're urging that let's get to the table. You see, there are competing interests that inform decisions that are taken ultimately. It is not just one of the interests. So if you decide that somebody has spoken and has called for the lifting of the ban on the construction, then the next moment you see people then start also to strike and say that we don't want this filling station at this place, we don't want it at that particular place. So we need to marry all of the competing needs and be able to arrive at a long-lasting solution than to hit one only to be confronted by the other. Because of the urgency that we are attached to this, minded by the consequences of the non-supply of the product. That's why we didn't even wait for the strike to start on Monday. Immediately we heard the alarm bells being rung as of Friday. As of Sunday, we sent notices. Now look, we are partners in this industry. These are issues that you are bringing. Come to the table, let's discuss them.
Mohammed Abdul Kudus is Communications Manager for the NPA. Let's still stay with the energy sector because the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, is raising serious concerns over government's decision to enter into a sole sourced agreement with Miscellaneous Company to transport and operate the Ameri power plant. According to the energy think tank, the deal is not financially sound and further alleges that it has been bloated by several millions of cedis. Kojo Yaoche is policy lead, petroleum and conventional energy and he joins us with more details. Kojo, thank you for your time. I mean, you've heard the energy say that, and ACEP say this is not a good deal. What have they been, I mean, you are with ACEP, so let us understand, what more have you seen that is bringing you to this conclusion that this deal is not in the interest of Ghana and again is being bloated? Could you kindly unmute so we can follow what you're telling us?
Sorry, thank you for having me. So we came into information about the contract to relocate the Ameri power plant from Abuaze to Kumasi. We raised a number of issues with the arrangement. First of all, government of Ghana is absolving Ameri from the contractual requirements for the handover of the plant. So per the agreement, Ameri is supposed to ensure that the plant is in good working condition before it hands over. And that assessment that it's in good condition has to be done by an independent assessor before they hand over the plant to the country. But we see that just some 2 months to the expiration of the contract, government wrote to Ameri absolving them, waiving them of that responsibility to do that. And we see in the report from the independent assessment that 4 of the 10 units have to be worked on, and we asked ourselves that who is going to bear the cost of that. Government insists that rectification works is going to be done by Miscellaneous, who was a subcontractor of Ameri at the time. Meanwhile, we have no agreement with Ameri, yet we have no agreement with Miscellaneous, which will bind them to do that. So if they fail to do that, we sitting at ACEP, we don't see how the government is going to be able to hold them to account for it. Again, we question the decision to relocate the plant. Government says it wants to stabilize power supply in the middle belt. We have always consistently argued that retooling the transmission infrastructure, particularly the Pokpasi and Umasu 33 kV line, and also the Western Corridor lines, to be able to transmit power effectively to the middle belt is the most optimal and efficient option, especially in the short term, to be able to get power, to stabilize power in the middle belt. So we have been questioning that, and we know that it's not only the Ameri plant that is being moved there. Government is also intending to locate new plants, about 3 of them, in addition to Ameri, to form what they call the Kumasi Power Hub. This is a government that has consistently complained about excess capacity, and yet we want to create new generation in Kumasi to add on to the grid. That is about 1,000 megawatts. Who to pay for that? We again question the contract cost. I mean, the minister stated that this contract, the relocation, was going to cost us $35.6 million, and the operation and maintenance, that again is being sole sourced to Miscellaneous, is also going to cost us $1 million a year for 3 years. That makes it $36 million. Now, it's curious to note that if you look at the proposal that Miscellaneous sent to government, they quoted $25.48 million as the cost that they envisage the relocation to cost. So our point is that even if you say that you won't listen to what ACEP is saying, that retool the transmission infrastructure instead of relocating plants, if you are going to do it, you shouldn't do it at an overpriced cost. We have not even interrogated whether 25 million quoted by Mytilinus is the true cost of the project, but already we see that cost has jumped by 40% to 35.6%.
Okay, that's interesting. But again, we know that when it comes to sole sourcing, we can only sole source when the company is the only company with the right technology to undertake such a transaction. In this case, do we know any other company that could have done the transportation from the Western region to the Ashanti region?
Important that you raise that point. The justification that the ministry gave for sole sourcing their contracts to Mytilinus is that they have been the subcontractor of Ameri within the period of the plant, so they are better suited for that. It is important to highlight for viewers to know that long service is not one of the criteria that is given as for exceptional cases for sole sourcing under the PPA Act. The turbines that are supposed to be moved to Kumasi are just more like big generators that are put on trailers.
Okay.
We haul products across the country every time.
Okay.
There are even local contractors that move trailers of containers all over the country, even to Ouagadougou.
So I'm grateful.
You can't tell me in good conscience that Mytilinus is the only company that is suited to be able to do this.
Thank you very much. Kojo is with the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Kojo, I'm grateful that you find time to join us here on the Joy News today. Now, to other stories. The Forestry Commission is this afternoon leading a task force to reclaim the green belt protecting the Weja Lake. A Joy News report from last month highlighted the increased encroachment and other human activities threatening the water source, which serves more than 1 million people in the Greater Accra region and parts of the Central region. This afternoon, that report has received some attention. My colleague Manuel Cranting, who earlier reported on the situation, is with the task force embarking on the demolition exercise and joins us with more. Manuel, what more can you tell us about this particular exercise? Manuel, can you unmute so we can hear what you're telling us?
Joint task force made up of military personnel, of course, men from also the Ghana Police Service, led by the Forestry Commission and its officials, have been here, a part of the embankment of the Weja Lake, referred to as Joma. And this is coming on the back of that report that we brought viewers about a month ago, on the increasing encroachment on these lands. We're told that in just about the past 2 months or so, this entire area was a forest of trees, really, and officials of the Forestry Commission actually come here to plant trees in an attempt to protect the lake. When we got here, there were signages of green belt right in there, and yet we've seen some developments springing up quite at the speed of light. I'm not going to take the wind out of your sail. I just want to speak to the leader of the task force here on the ground. He is the Deputy Regional Chief of the Forestry Commission, and he's been leading a team here to embark on this particular exercise. We're grateful, sir, that you could speak to us here on Joy News.
Thank you.
How is this happening? We thought that there was, a monitoring mechanism on the entire parcel.
Yes, it's true. We have been monitoring the area for some time now. And, we don't have the staff staying within the community. And so anytime they move out of this place, these people come back at night and destroy the trees we have planted here. And so, we need to protect the water, and so, or the dam. And Forestry Commission has planted trees around it to prevent siltation and pollution. And so this we have been doing over the years, and we have mature trees here. But I don't know the people who connive with the community members, and they will come down, pull down the trees we have planted. As you could see ahead of us, then they will give out this piece of land to people to put up houses. And it's affecting the reservoir. And we know the importance of this dam to the Accra, the region in general. It supplies 80% of the water
to the various communities. And so if this dam is destroyed and we don't take care to prevent its destruction, I think we will not do good to this country.
And just in the past couple of minutes as we arrived here, we've seen a number of people, and the numbers keep swelling up just by the minute. Some young men who have approached the team here. They've spoken to you. What is their concern?
Yeah, they said they are here to find out what is happening here, why we are here. And so they are here to lend us their support. But I don't think so. They want to see the actions we are taking at the site. I believe that they may know something about the development over here.
You came in the company of the police and the military. Are we going to effect any arrest here? Because we've seen people come forward to ask questions about your actions.
Well, we could not identify anybody at site, developing the building. And so we may not have the evidence to produce at court so that, such person will be prosecuted. And so you cannot arrest anybody unless our investigations could lead to the arrest of somebody. For now, we haven't arrested anybody because we haven't seen anybody here. We were here and some people trooped in and they said they want to find out what is going on at the site.
Okay, and so what is going to happen? I mean, I see you're taking down a few of the structures, and then what next?
And so we want to intensify our patrols. We have also reported this matter to the police. We want to use the police to find out who is behind this for prosecution at the law court.
And of course, as the leader of the Forestry Commission's team that is on the ground here is the Deputy Regional Manager of the Forestry Commission. We just speak to the Commissioner of course, the Water Resources Commission. He's been giving us a bit of details, and you would remember that this entire space was acquired compulsorily by government for the purposes of the operations of the dam and indeed its treatment of water. We'll just speak to him briefly. Grateful said that you could speak to us here on JoyNews. Just briefly talk to us about what really is the reason, because the treatment plant is just across this point. How is it that all of this action has escaped your lenses?
I think it is encroachment, clearly encroachment. All these areas are within the acquisition. And this was actually done in 1977. We call it Executive Instrument 130 of 1977 to indicate that all of these areas are within. And for that matter, this is a no-go area. Nobody is supposed to come here to build or to do any business. Several persons and entities have come forward wanting to put 1G, 1D, 1F things here, and we have said no, because this is supposed to be a no-go area. Nothing is supposed to be done here. It's supposed to be a green belt to protect the water for the good people of Ghana. It will interest you to know that more than 50% of the population of Accra get their drinking water from here and for all other purposes domestically. So we need to put our feet down and ensure that we collaborate with Forestry Commission and all the other agencies that are working.
But the people are laying claim to the parcel of land,
which is where the problem is. And we want to sound a note of caution that this is not land for development. And no.
Now, many farmers feel middlemen buy their produce at cheaper price and overprice them on the market. In these hard economic times, a couple in the Ashanti region took a firm decision to retail their goods directly to consumers in order to maximize profit. In today's edition of our Living Standard series, Love FM's Emmanuel Bright Kweku interacted with Kwame Bulsa and Tani, a couple who are poised to pinch every penny of their profit.
Opeadiano, the scan the Juma obey, and yes, a canal coto adiano, Binny, a Jumano, and yet.
Mention about Semiti way, or Mutana, Coxia Cacra, Nama Coffee, Nama Coachim and Katia, Nama Bruno.
And then Katoa, all these 7 years, Baji Tracy.
It's almost midday, and Kwame Bol Issa and his wife, Tanil, have come to the roadside to sell the ears of corn cultivated from their farm. Kwame left Sandema in the Upper East region some years ago in search of greener pastures down south. After years of struggles, he landed in the Duase Praso community on the outskirts of Konongo. My mom died when I was young. I became depressed that I had to flee the village and come to Kumasi. I was sleeping on tables when I came to Kejetia, so I decided to come here to work on a farm. Kwame has since been cultivating on his piece of land at the village. He tells me it is his only source of income, but he has recently resorted to selling boiled corn weekly after recent proceeds from the farming business yielded lower profits. I am not getting enough. I cannot sell until next week when I get some of the maize from my farm. So I can't really tell how much I'll be earning by the end of the month. Boiled corn is a favorite and heavy dessert for folks at the village, but Kwame's corn, pegged at a minimum price of 1 Ghana cedi, still costs an arm and leg for some of his customers. His patrons haggle for a reduction, and that, he says, is incurring him some losses.
50 pesos.
Some people buy the 2 cedi corn at 1 cedi or even lesser. Some even buy on credit. So I only get 50 Ghana from the 100 Ghana profit I'm supposed to get. It's because they do not have money. Someone is even selling cassava just across the road, but since morning she's not been able to sell enough. If they do not get money, they will not be able to cater for their family. His wife, Tanil, joined him from the village some years ago. The couple have 3 children, 2 already enjoying the free senior high school policy. Kwame deems the policy as a relief, but he says the meager income is unable to cater for his family of 5.
All 7 years, 3 cedi. Panyina wo ho a wanya 12 years to 13 to 14.
My youngest child used to take 1 Ghana cedi, but she is now taking 3 Ghana cedi. The other one at home doesn't take 3 Ghana cedis, but 4 Ghana cedis.
Give 4 cedi. Now we na give 3 cedi. Week, 2 weeks to Bushumi. You may and to SS. One no obabano. One over Fafuno, their fro, so she. It be 100 Ghana. We have 100 Ghana.
Those in SHS are also claiming DS. The food at school doesn't satisfy them, so I always have to be sending them money.
But I never say Nemanaya dino. And Adriano and Sumo. And I know a fete kakra. And now to be an answer to this bias or pushing the kakra. No, no, some fancy no. Na accommodina, no Adriano Suma, no Cope kakra.
The incessant increase in transport fares has compounded his woes.
Anna ye Lord of Ferdin, one woman Biasa, Quan Wabia, and she tells you 3 cedi, over 5 cedi. Ebra, Obetimia, Aquabatia.
The transport fares are also expensive now. From here to Konongo, it's almost 20 Ghana cedis.
The show for cars is 1 could 20 Ghana, want to mean Kohoma. Ukwa. Over Saturn, Lord of Yanwa beginning.
As his supportive wife, Tanil sometimes trades roasted corn and tiger nuts to generate additional income for the family. But she says profits from her petty trade is not enough to cushion her family against the current economic hardship.
There's no job here, so this is what we do. I sometimes sell roasted corn and tiger nuts. Even with that, I don't get enough.
1 million. Obi ani hanuma ubekwe kwa chwe promona siya kura 500 kura wonya na wasamba na wasamba ntuna maja chino amere me fumu jumano.
She is now unable to send some cash to her family at Sandema as she normally would.
The first day anya didn't say neno na sisi di first no meteme busume kura yeteme mana.
I can't send money home anymore.
A farmer's prayer has always been to have more rains on his farm, but now they are seeking torrential rains of money to grease their pockets.
You're also watching the Joy News today. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you latest from the world of business. Stay with us.
Hello, good afternoon. It's time to do business with me, Beverly Broom. Now, in its quest to create an open and diverse digital environment in Africa, Ghana Unity Dio, in partnership with Harmony One, has organized the second edition of the Web3 conference in Accra. The aim of the two-day conference was to highlight how entrepreneurs can harness the ecosystem in all sectors. There's more in the following report.
Ghana Unity Dio is a digital native network of entrepreneurs with a shared mission to foster the Web3 community in Ghana and Africa as a whole. The two-day conference explored the impacts and potentials of blockchain technology in Africa. Here's the head of governor for Ghana Unity Dio, Del Titus Bewa.
I use the technology. I see the benefits. I see the areas that need to be improved. And it is faster, quicker, more radically transparent, right? And if we have a transparent society, things will just generally be better at scale. But more importantly for Africa, it is important that we create new industries. We cannot rely solely on the existing industries, although there is a place for them. We have to advance forward for us to be productive, for us to develop more prosperity, and for us to even grow our GDP. We need to find new industries to develop. And that's why, for me, Web3 is very important.
Speaking at the event, Hall of Fame marketer Bosoma St. John emphasized the potentials of Web3 in the transformation of Ghana's economy.
Well, it's going to change our businesses because we're able then to connect with other businesses that are not just in Ghana. You know, it's like the world is a small place. It's getting smaller by the day. Other countries are connecting to each other, helping each other, using resources from each other. And so if we're not involved, then we're left out of the picture. You know, and I think that's happened too long in history, that we have to correct it now. We're able to do it because we don't actually have to physically be anywhere. We can still use the technology to help our businesses right now.
Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Netcoin, Yele Badimosi, addressing the myth surrounding cryptocurrency, said there is the need for awareness creation.
I mean, I think generally, you know, a lot of regulators, and rightly so, are trying to understand the space and, you know, wanting to ensure that they're protecting, everyday citizens from, making mistakes when it comes to their finances and things like that, or like trying to protect economic sovereignty of any country. So I think, like, I definitely understand sort of those concerns and those challenges. What is cool to see is that a lot of regulators, including like the Bank of Ghana, are more open to sort of meeting and connecting with entrepreneurs and players in the space. And there's that opportunity for dialogue.
The event was supported by Afrochella, Royals MTF Collection, Social Stack, Levels Unlocked, and the Esports Ghana Association.
Away from that, Fast Forward Sports, a subsidiary company of Fast Forward Stores owned by SmartMark Limited, has said it will continue to provide jobs to Ghanaians. According to the Chief Executive Officer of Fast Forward Sports, the company will engage more Ghanaians in its daily activities to support the economy and provide quality goods. He spoke to Joy Business at the launch of their modern sports multi-brand flagship store concept at the Accra Mall.
Fast Forward is the biggest and the fastest growing sports and fashion retail business in Ghana and Africa at large. The company provides up-to-date, high-tech and fashionable sports apparel, footwear and accessories. Speaking to Joy Business at the launch of the company, Chief Executive John Onyekuzoro said the company will give the best services such as hands-on in-store training on the use of its product and good customer services.
We're here to have a grand opening of our multi-brand sports store called Fast Forward. Fast Forward is one of the brands under the SmartMark group. SmartMark has numerous brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Swatch, Levi's, TM Lewin, Charles Stewart, and so many others. But the newest in Ghana today is the Fast Forward multi-brand sports store. And that's why we're here. We want to appreciate the Ghanaians to say thank you so much for the opportunity to be in your space on the one hand, and on the other hand, for us to give you quality and affordable products that you can be proud of as first as Africans and then of course as Ghanaians.
He also described the Ghanaian market as large and one that can support the growth of the company.
To be very frank with you, it's been off and on. You know, the global economy has been in recession. The COVID-19 came, it slowed down things. But because we trust the Ghana environment, we stood by the economy and said, no, we'll be here. So it's been off and on. It's been quite difficult. Now that there's a lot of devaluation going on with the local currency, it becomes even more difficult. But
that's all for business now. We have more business when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Up next is sports with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Showbiz here on JoyNews. Now, palm wine music has been championed in Ghana for the past 5 years by Kwampa Music, led by Hassan. In an interview on Showbiz A to Z, the band has disclosed an EP is in the works and will soon be released.
We are going to churn out bodies of work.
Great.
And so yesterday we released a single called Immediate Effect to commemorate the 5th anniversary celebration of the band. So that is a single we've released. On 9th September, we are releasing a 6-track EP. 9th September, everything is ready. We are just waiting for 9th. Bam, it's out there.
So it's going to be 9/9/22.
It's sharp. Very good. Hey, Charlie, you know this thing. And then in February next year, we will do a full 12-track album. Okay. We are done recording 6 already. We are left with the 6. And so we want to churn out lots of bodies of work in the next 5 years, what we fail to do.
Away from Kwampa, reggae and dancehall act Raskuku is urging the public to support his craft rather than feed on negative stories about him. He spoke on Daybreak Hits.
When somebody talks about Raskuku, or I come in and, when somebody says something and then I come in and, defend myself, they promote that thing more than me releasing a song. And then I don't get it. Anytime, come to my wall, check whether Raskuku got good music out there. Don't just come there because you want to see Raskuku defending himself because somebody has said something about him.
That's how we wrap up today's bulletin. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Samuel Kojo. Brace, do enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Marketplace is up next.